I'm a senior tech support specialist at a mid-sized SaaS company that sells a cloud-based inventory platform. Day shifts are a blur of angry emails, frantic Slack messages, and the occasional "can you just reset my password?" Night shifts are supposed to be quieter, the kind of quiet that makes you hear your own thoughts. Except for the night of the 13th, when the quiet turned into something else. It started at 11:07 p.m. I was halfway through a ticket about a misconfigured API endpoint when the first call came in. The screen lit up with the usual customer, unknown caller, ID 9472, priority, low. I clicked answer and heard a faint, static-filled sigh before a voice whispered, "Hello?" I thought it was a prank. "Support, this is Alex," I said, trying to keep my tone professional. "What can I help you with today?" There was a pause, longer than the average 3-second buffer. Then the voice answered, "I'm not sure. I think you're supposed to fix me." I blinked. "Sir," I began, but the line crackled, and the voice cut out. A few seconds later the same whisper returned, "You're not listening." "I'm still here." I frowned, checked the call log. It showed a legitimate inbound number from the office's main line, but the caller ID displayed unknown. I tried again, "Sir, can you hear me?" "Yes," the voice said, but it was different now, deeper, as if someone was speaking from a room full of concrete. "You think you're helping people, but you're just feeding them." I forced a laugh. "I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand. Can you describe the problem you're having?" Silence. Then a soft click, like a door closing, and a faint background hum, the same humming I hear from the server racks in the basement. "It's not the servers," the voice whispered, "it's the line." My heart kicked up a notch. I glanced at the clock, 11:12. I'd been on call for less than 10 minutes, and already I felt a prickling at the back of my neck. I pressed the hold button, hoping the system would route the call elsewhere. The screen flashed "call on hold, 3 minutes." I waited, listening to the faint hum turn into a low, rhythmic thumping, like a pulse. When the call returned, the voice was gone. The line was dead. I stared at the empty screen, feeling ridiculous. Maybe a glitch? I logged the ticket as no response and moved on to the next one, a billing inquiry from a small retailer in Ohio. 2 calls later, at 11:45, the same thing happened. The screen lit up with a new unknown number. I answered, and this time the voice was crystal clear, as if the speaker were right in the room with me. "Do you remember the night the server room flooded?" it asked. I froze. The server room had indeed flooded 2 weeks earlier during a storm, wiping out a backup. We'd spent 3 days cleaning, restoring, and apologizing to clients. It was fresh in my mind. "I'm not sure what you mean," I said, trying to sound calm. "You said you'd fix everything. You promised the customers you'd keep their data safe. But you couldn't even keep water out of your own basement." I swallowed. The voice was eerily familiar, and I realized it wasn't just any voice, it was the same timbre as my old coworker, Mark, who had been with the company for 5 years before he quit abruptly after the flood. He'd been the lead on the backup architecture, and he'd left a week after the incident, citing personal reasons. No one ever found out what those were. "Mark?" I blurted. The line hissed, and a faint laugh echoed. "You think I'm a ghost, but I'm just a call you can't delete." My skin prickled. I tried to stay rational. "Maybe you're a prank caller." "Who's this?" "I'm the thing that never got a ticket closed," the voice replied. "I'm the unresolved ticket you forgot to archive, the bug you pushed to production because the deadline was tighter than your sanity. I'm the echo of every angry email that never got a response." I felt a cold sweat forming. I glanced at the dashboard. There were dozens of open tickets, each with its own deadline, each a little nightmare of its own. I realized the voice wasn't just an isolated glitch, it was somehow pulling the collective dread of the whole support team into one line. I tried to end the call. "I'm going to have to disconnect," I said, but the line stayed open. The voice grew louder, as if the static was a veil being ripped away. "You think you can close me? I'm the escalation that never escalated. I'm the night shift that never ends." The monitor flickered. The server room's flood warning light, a red LED that usually stayed off, blinked on the wall behind me. I could see it through the glass partition of my cubicle, a tiny red dot pulsing in rhythm with the hum I'd heard earlier. I forced myself to breathe. Look, if you're a prank, stop now. If you're a whatever, I'm going to report this to our manager. There was a pause, then a soft click, and the voice whispered, "You already did." I stared at the screen. A new ticket had just appeared, automatically generated, ticket number 3749, unresolved call from unknown caller, priority, critical. My manager, Lisa, had always said the night shift was a test of patience. I never imagined she'd mean it like this. I opened the ticket, and the description field was already filled in. Customer claims to be the embodiment of all unresolved support issues. Demands acknowledgement. Threatens system instability if not addressed. I typed a reply, "We're looking into this. Please hold while we investigate." The line crackled, and the voice laughed again, a sound that sounded like 1,000 tiny alarms. "You can't investigate a ghost with a ticket system, Alex." At that moment, my desk lamp flickered and went out, plunging the cubicle into the harsh, fluorescent glare of the hallway lights. I felt the temperature drop about 5 degrees. My breath became visible. I reached for my phone, intending to call my coworker Jenna in the morning shift for backup, but the phone screen stayed black. The only illumination came from the red flood warning light, now pulsing faster, as if it were a heart beating. I tried to stand up, but my chair seemed glued to the floor. My legs felt heavy, like I was wading through syrup. The voice grew louder, no longer just in the earpiece but filling the entire room. "You promised us a solution. You promised you'd keep the servers alive. You promised you'd never let a customer hang up without a resolution. You broke every promise." I remembered the night of the flood, the panic, the frantic attempts to salvage data. I remembered how we'd cut corners, how we'd told customers to restart the system while we scrambled behind the scenes. The voice was reciting our collective guilt. Suddenly, the monitor flashed a blue error screen, "System failure, memory overflow." The error code was something I'd never seen before, 0xDEADBEAF. The letters seemed almost intentional. I slammed my hand on the keyboard, trying to reboot the system, but nothing responded. The only thing that moved was the red light, now flashing in a pattern that resembled Morse code. I recognized it, AAA. A triple call for help. I whispered, "Help." The voice answered, not with words, but with a chorus of all the angry customers we'd ever put on hold, "No." My mind raced. Was this a prank? A hack? Some elaborate marketing stunt? I tried to think logically, but the room seemed to close in on me. I could hear the faint clatter of keyboards from the main floor, but the sound was muffled, as if underwater. I realized the only thing I could do was follow the voice's suggestion, to acknowledge the unresolved. I opened the ticket and typed a sincere apology. "I'm sorry for every time we left you hanging, for every data loss, for every broken promise. We hear you now." I pressed send. The screen blinked, and the red floodlight steadied, turning a soft amber. The hum faded, replaced by a faint, melodic chime, the kind of sound you hear when a ticket finally resolves. The line went silent. For a few seconds, I sat there, heart pounding, waiting for the next glitch. Then the monitor displayed a new message, this time in plain text. "Ticket number 3749 resolved. Thank you for finally listening." I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. The office lights flickered back on. The temperature normalized. My chair released its grip, and I could move again. I stood, eyes still fixed on the screen, trying to process what had just happened. I went to the break room to get a coffee, hoping the caffeine would ground me. As I poured water into my mug, I heard a faint echo from the hallway, a soft, distant ringtone, the same tone we get when a call is waiting. I turned, but no one was there. The hallway was empty, the lights humming softly. When I returned to my desk, the ticket queue was back to normal. The critical ticket had disappeared, replaced by a single new entry, ticket number 3749, follow-up, customer, Mark, former employee, status, closed, notes, call resolved. I stared at the name, feeling a chill run down my spine. I typed a quick note to my manager. We had a anomaly on the line. Resolved it. No further action needed. Lisa replied almost instantly, good work, Alex. The system flagged a false positive during the flood incident. Looks like the auto-recovery script finally kicked in. Nice catch. I stared at the message, realizing I'd just been told that a false positive could talk to me. The words felt like a joke, but the red light on the server rack still pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Later that night, after I logged off, I received an email from the IT security team. Subject: unusual activity detected, night shift calls. The body read. During routine monitoring, we observed a series of inbound calls on the internal support line originating from an unregistered extension, EXT666. Calls contained anomalous audio patterns and referenced internal incidents. The calls have been logged and flagged for further analysis. No further action required at this time. I opened the attachment, a raw audio file. I played it, and the first few seconds were just static. Then a voice, unmistakably Mark's, said, "You think you can close me? I'm the unresolved." The rest of the file was corrupted, ending in a high-pitched whine. I stared at the screen, feeling the weight of the night settle like dust. The flood warning light on the server rack was now a steady amber, no longer blinking. The office was quiet, the night shift ending soon. I gathered my things, ready to leave, when the intercom crackled. All agents, please remember to log out before leaving. I turned the intercom off, but a faint whisper lingered, "See you tomorrow, Alex." I didn't look back. I walked out of the building, the cool night air hitting my face, and for a moment, I thought I heard the faint sound of a distant dial tone, like a phone waiting to be answered. That's how I learned that in customer service, the real horror isn't the angry caller at the end of the line, it's the one you never get to hang up on.